Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culturized. It is me, Makani. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening on the audio portion of our podcast, tell your friends about it. If you're watching on TV, thank you so much. If you're on YouTube, you get the comments down below. Hit the subscription button, notification. What else they got to do? Like, that's right. You heard it for the Kanaka. You got to like us as well. Validate our existence. Before I introduce you to our next guest, I'm so excited. Season 5 is here. But because we are a cultured show and we have to follow protocol and things we were taught, we do it this way. Mahalo Elono, the Kanaka Kid. Check him out on YouTube. Learn some Hawaiian words of the day. Olalono Eau. And see what it's like to be a Hawaiian kid, a Kanaka kid in today's society. I'm humbled, I'm privileged. I'm sitting here with somebody I see on a daily basis. We actually work together. Introduce to you Edmund Nourrie. I know. And we're going to get into the reason why he's like, but I want to first introduce you, licensed mental health counselor, cultural practitioner, musician, brother, son, all these titles that you carry, all this kuleana that you have. What is, if you had to categorize them, what would be at the top?
At the top of those, brother.
Brother.
Yeah,
I like that. Because how many brothers do you have? Or brothers and sisters, I should say.
So altogether, I have blood related. I have 5 brothers, 1 sister, and then I have a Hanai brother that I've known from 11 years old. So
true extended ohana. I love that. So we're talking about titles, right? And earlier we talked about, I like that you said off camera, we're talking about one title is friend, right? Nahoa friends or hoa friends.
Right.
And that's who we are. You're here. So it's funny because I wanted you to be on the show, and I thought of all kinds of things we can talk about, because you and I, if these cameras and these microphones were in our office,
oh man,
I think there would be just as much people that hate us that would like
That's
us,
fair.
right?
That's fair,
right?
Yeah, 100%.
First thing I want to get into names. So the theme that's been kind of happening this season is names, and you and I talk about it all the time, about how the power of inoa, the power of names. And you were born with Edmund Nourrie, right?
Yep.
And you're a junior.
Yeah.
And you know, you that physical reaction you had, because we get the same thing, right? I want to fast forward to, we're going to jump around, but a time that we met. At work, when I email you, I know you as Edmund Nourrie. But as friends, as brothers, as coworkers, you are Kekupu to me. Kekupu Wa'e. Explain to everybody your full name. What is your full name? The Hawaiian.
The Hawaiian name.
Yeah.
Kekupu Wa'e no hopono ikeohia.
Why? What? Explain that to us.
So first of all, the name was given to me by the Kupuna Council out in Waianae about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. And I mean, you were one of the few people that were kind of like talking about it, discussing it, and came up with it. So I was very, very honored, because I was not expecting it at all. And so my name means Kekupu is it's a directional growth. Yeah. Kekupu, to grow. Ae is the direction of the growth. Nohopono, to sit in righteousness. And ikeohia, of the knowledge of the ohia tree. So that's a literal translation, but the kauna that was shared with me was that it's both a reminder of who I am and hope of someone that I continue to be or become at some point in the future, meaning that I vala a lot. I talk a lot. You notice. Portuguese. I can't help myself. Yeah.
I love that.
It's in the blood. So the Kekupu, the shooting growth, yeah, like the growing portion speaks both to, from what I'm told, my penchant for like growing. I love la'o, yeah. We do that at work. So there's that portion. The nohopono is to sit in righteousness or in silence. You know what I mean? Because like when we talked about it, it was really hard for me at the time.
Because the funny thing is, not to interrupt you, is I never really asked you what you felt after you got that. Like, we were just all about, we're going to tell you the counter, we're going to tell you the name and this and that. If you're joining us, this is Culturized. We are sitting with my good friend Edmund Kekupu Nourrie. We're talking about name right now for him, but we're going to get into what he does, because what he does is pretty amazing. We're sharing, we're learning, we're talking culture. Just to preempt you, him and I have this idea that cultural practices can work parallel with Western practices as well. So we're doing that right here on Culturized.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser Digital Full Access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHAITHING. For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit hificu.com.
Hey, welcome back to Culturized. It is me, Makani. This is a space where we get to talk, share, and learn culture, whether it's native, whether it's ethnic, whether it's social. Before we get back into the whole name thing, I totally wanted to, it's just funny because you and I, the practices we were taught when we were young, the practices we were reminded of when we were older, sometimes we don't, not that we don't think about them, we just do them because it's second nature. People are thinking, why is there Umeke a bowl of tangerines right here on the table?
Why shouldn't there be?
Why is they, I poured you a cup of cup of kava, and we're sharing space.
Yo, that's good.
Right.
That's super good. That's super good.
Threw you off. Explain this to us. Why did you bring a bowl of tangerines or fruits?
So I was taught, and we were taught by our kupuna that you don't show up anywhere empty-handed. You want to give, and especially with fruit, like a symbol of life, of growth. Like you ingest it, it makes you healthy, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this was for, and then the bowl, symbolizing strength, unity, and all that stuff. So I brought this for the crew because you guys got like 100 people over here. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was
102.
Yeah.
102 people. I love it. It's such a Hawaiian concept. So those that are watching, and that's what we do. And you heard us talk about it. You see some of our guests, and they bring things. I got to thank Kalehua and Mana that they brought me iliahi.
Oh, must be pretty solid. Right. People show up, just give you stuff all the time. And speaking of, so that one was for the crew. This one is for you.
Really?
Aye. That one. What? That one I got from.
Wow.
This is a very deep story. Okay. And it goes back many years when I went online and I was looking for one, and a dude had it in his like fish tank for like 10 years, and then he didn't want it anymore.
This is a triton? Is that what they call this one?
Yeah. I'm not sure what.
I don't even know. Yeah. If you guys know the Hawaiian, pu, right? Pu kani, but I don't know what they call a triton. Wow, brother. Really, mahalo for this.
So I cut that myself, and you've used this before, but it's been mine this whole time.
Wow, you're giving yours up.
Yeah. And
okay, so really quick, just to explain to people. Some people would look at that and go, he used it before, it's his. He gave it, like, you guys have no idea that the message in that, when it's yours, but you didn't just get it from me, which we always talk about the difference with whole kupu and makana, right? Makana, you can just give me a gift card or something, and this is whole kupu. So mahalo for this. I'm totally stoked right now. As we get back into, and we were talking about your name, Kekupu Nohopono. Now, it's funny because I never really got a chance to ask you, what did you think, what did you feel when you got that? Because it was almost, when I got to tell you, when the Kupuna Council, when we sat together and we knew that you needed to be as we say, we needed to ho'omana you, right? We all have trials and tribulations, and you were at a point, if you don't mind me saying, you were at a point at time that you just had graduated from college. You just got your mental health career off the ground, and you were growing, and we were like, we gotta continue to ho'omana. And I gotta tell you guys, one of the reasons why you're here is because it's rare to meet somebody who you spent how many years in school?
Me? Like after high school?
Yeah, your master's took how long?
Just for my master's, like 6 years.
6 years studying the Western side of behavioral medicine and behavioral health. And when we met, you were like, this is so hungry and so ono to learn, right? To learn cultural practices. And that was, so what did you, when we gave you that, well, I see it's bad to say gave you, when we gifted you that name, what is this? I never asked you that.
Honestly, it blew my mind because like I wasn't expecting it. You know, I have Hawaiian family, and I grew up literally believing I was Hawaiian for like a good portion of my life. Well, blood Hawaiian, Koko. Because two of my brothers are Hawaiian. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew they were my half brothers, but not. It didn't. I don't know. It just didn't dawn on me. So, feeling like I was Hawaiian, and then making this realization that like, oh no, we have different moms. I'm not Hawaiian. So I had this identity crisis when I was in the military.
No way.
Yeah. And after, going to school, got out of the military, went to school, started working with you guys at the comp, I realized that my family kind of like associated or raised me in very, like some traditional, some modern Hawaiian type styles. And when you guys gave me this name, I was like, wow, like it validated my existence.
I want you to hold that thought in your head right now, because if you're joining us, this is Culturized. We're going to get into mental health practices, behavioral practices, but we're talking with Kekupu right now, and we're talking about name and ho'omana and giving him a Hawaiian name that would help him in his practice today. So stay close. This is Culturized.
Ashley is America's #1 furniture store. We have everything you need for your home. Let the experts at King Windward help you out of your current loan or lease and into a new vehicle. Visit kingwindwardnissan.com.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Culturized. It is me, Makane, sitting with my very good friend. It's weird to say coworker, right? Because we're coworkers to us. We don't affiliate ourselves with sorry, we hang out. Kekupu, when you got that name, we're talking about. So you're in the midst of saying what you felt. Is that a heavy kuleana? I never asked you that.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, 100%.
Sorry.
Like you see this?
I know, right?
I can't take it. I can't sleep. No. Yeah, man. Like, especially when I was given because I don't speak, in any way, shape, or form fluently. I know, the things that we work with for protocol. I know Oli and stuff like that. But when I was given the name, or gifted the name, and was told what it meant, and then the kauna of it, I was like, oh my goodness, like what am I gonna do with this thing? And it's actually served me very well in maintaining my humility and trying to every time I hear myself talking too much, I'm like, okay.
You know why? The reason why I ask is, a lot of times we give inoa to babies, right? And they'll never really tell you how they feel about it, right?
I mean, I will.
Right? And I always wondered, like, wow, because the theme is ho'omana, the mana of names and the kuleana of names. So thank you for that. I'm glad I could be a part of that. But I want to fast forward now. You got your master's in mental health, and you've now licensed, and you have taken on this kuleana of not only the Western thought of mental health, but totally immersed yourself into the cultural approach of mental health. And I'm going to totally preempt this one with a current event that has happened about mental health. Your professional opinion on Will Smith.
Who?
I know, right?
So, Mr. Smith.
Because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he's got issues. He's got mental problems."
Honestly, man, we all got issues. We all got mental problems.
Definitely.
Everybody. It's just to what extent, right? Severity that it presents, our behavior, etc. So with Will Smith, right? So I'm gonna ask you first. Right or wrong?
Honestly, I think if as a kane from a cultural lens, you should be kane enough to know that there's time and place to handle pilikia, right? You have to be, if you're gonna be a warrior, you have to know, right, when to roll with it and when not to roll with it, and time and place. But I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think he thinks he's an elitist. Right?
That's an interesting opinion.
He can do whatever he wants whenever he wants.
I'm not gonna like totally disagree with that. But I feel like it's multi-layered. Yeah, and I feel like there was a lot of buildup leading to this thing, and it just so happened that he made, like, you can almost see it in his face, right? There are still frames where you can just see him go from to like and in that split he had a decision, and he made that decision with every single step that he took up there. You know, he continued to make that decision and choose and choose and choose, and then he got up there and he still could have stopped, and then he did it anyway, right? And he turns around, he walks all the way back, and he makes another decision to vocalize, right? And all this yelling and all this aggression, like, I feel like it was a big buildup, and it was this explosion, but it wasn't solely based on what Chris Rock said or his...
So just a bunch of others.
Yeah, because his family, if you look at his family and then look at his marriage and all the things that led up to it, I feel like that is probably the most important part of that whole exchange.
So you see Kupu's brain is, and you and I do that. We can sit in our office and talk about our views, right? Because you were trained, in a Western mindset, but also now being trained in a cultural mindset. And I'm coming from a cultural lens as well. We can sit and talk about these things. That's what we do on Culturize. If you're joining us, comment down below if you got a comment on what we just said. But we are getting into, the reason why I asked is because you and I say as a team, we work with clients and patients, both on the Western and both on the cultural side. And I like to say we're a little bit biased because you and I are the ones doing the work. We have a lot of clients. So we'll tell you what we do and how we do it. But I love how his brain works because he's always thinking this way. 1 foot in Western, 1 foot in culture. And that's how we do it on Culturize. So if you're joining us, hit the like button first, then the subscription, then the notification. I'm going to get used to all these things. Just validate my existence. Sitting with Kekupu Nourrie right here on Culturized.
Culturize, brought to you by Beachside Roofing, the leaders. Elevate your home's exterior to a whole nother level with Windows Hawaii low maintenance, energy efficient select siding. Call 808-671-0808 today. Ridgel Kent Insurance, protecting your legacy.
Hey, welcome back to Culturize. It is me, Makani, sitting with my good friend, licensed mental health counselor and cultural practitioner, Kekupu Nourrie. We just had a great conversation. We're talking about Will Smith. And the reason why I asked that is because you and I, we work together. And we approach things from two lenses, right? You and I studying with kupuna counsel and healers, traditionally, a lot of kupuna in the healing world, we're very like, Western side, you stay on your side. You let us stand, and we'll do things that way. You and I agree that we can see things parallel together, and like that. We just had a conversation on Will Smith. I have my cultural lens. You have your Western lens, but at the same time, we both have the same lens, because we bring that into. And I'll preempt this story with the first time we met. You were interning, right? And I said it earlier, I've never met somebody that just got through studying in a Western university, and Western methods and Western mindset, and Kupu was like, teach me, I want to know. So since you've learned, it's been a handful of years. You're in the process of learning Ho'oponopono. We've done La'auka here. You're amazing at La'aulapa'au. Not only he's amazing not only administering, but actually because I suck at like planting them. Another thing we're good at, like he can take something that's dead and he'll revive it. It's probably dead because of me. But you're right. But when it comes to picking and harvesting it and making medicine, we're great at. but we do those things together. I totally lost train of thought because I'm drinking kava.
It's good though.
It is, right?
It's wicked good. Yeah. Well, as far as the La'au stuff is concerned, you talking about you kill things. I disagree. I feel like say look at Lono. Look at how prosperous he is.
That's true.
But that's your little La'au right there. You know what I mean?
I teach him things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I teach him things.
If we could just all see the things that we love as our children and treat them as such, I think we'd be in such a better position as human beings in general. Just want to throw that out there.
I like that. So this handful of years that you've been learning these different practices, in your opinion, does it help your Western side of mental health counseling?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, 100%. The thing about it is like, if you're looking at it traditionally, like I can't do Ho'oponopono in Western sessions, right?
True.
There's no way to. There's literally no way to do that, like in a legal sense, like for billing, insurance, and all that stuff. And then in a traditional sense, because of it's the legal side, basically it makes it impossible. However, if we take the ideas, if we take the concepts of Ho'oponopono and just cultural speaking to each other in general, and we incorporate that into like a Western session, it makes building rapport with clients so much quicker and so much easier, and like it just feels smoother for me.
And if you ever wondered if cultural practices and Western practices can work together as far as the medical and behavioral health and all those things in a health clinic, it can. Some may disagree, some may agree, but we're going to get more into that in the extended version right here of Culturize. Come with us. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Culturize. It is me, Makani. If you watched our TV portion, thank you so much for doing that. And we were talking about, we're sitting with Kekupu Nourrie, and we're talking about cultural practices in mental health. And we'll get into, also we do substance abuse treatment as well. But if Western practices and cultural practices can work together, because we were taught for a long time that, no, you do your thing, we'll do our thing. But we truly believe that can happen. And talking about getting back into using, so we talked about using cultural practices or cultural concepts into the Western side, and it's more difficult to use the Western side in cultural side, or
I don't know.
What do you think?
So personally, I feel like we've done that with the substance abuse that you're talking about, and I don't think it was very difficult because the foundation is set in a Western way, right? It's a Western foundation, but it's cultural ideas and cultural practices that are utilized within that foundation. So we set up the foundation as timeline, right? So the program that we run out in Waianae is a 12-week cultural program, and then it kind of goes back, right? So every 2 weeks we cut it down into like manageable chunks and portions. Thank you very much. Take a sip of that. And these portions are broken up with cultural concepts, right? So we have, we start off with Vahipana. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but we start off with Vahipana, right? And we do Vahipana and what that means to the person, what that means culturally, how that concept exists in Western culture already, with the, Vahipana being a sacred pulse or sacred place, right? And we all have that, and that's cross-cultural. And we use Hawaiian words and we use Hawaiian concepts, but it exists for everybody all over the world.
You see, he explains things like it makes me understand what I'm teaching. Is there, how closely related is, because some people see, so we're talking now about substance abuse treatment, right? And you as a licensed mental health counselor, also a certified substance abuse counselor, parallel.
Not certified yet, working on my certification, but I'm not a CSAC yet.
But a license, you could, you are doing those things. Who do you got to get certified?
The state, yeah, it's just it's a certain amount of hours I got to take the tests, but yeah.
Is it weird? Like, you've been doing this for how many years?
Yeah. But I don't have the paper yet. I don't have the paper. How dare you?
That's a whole nother conversation about that whole paper thing. Paper and knowledge, man. Yeah, anyway, how closely related is mental health and substance abuse? It is.
Yeah, that's just like saying how closely related is like blood and skin.
See, because some people don't realize that, right? So they think a lot of people that have addictions are they just decided to, right?
And honestly, like a lot of the time, it stems. So substance abuse, specifically, not substance use, substance abuse, abusing a substance for a particular reason. You know, it's mostly used for escape or to self-soothe. You know, to stop feeling unwanted feelings. Okay. And at some point, you know, usually, most commonly in, you know, adolescence, childhood, adolescence, something goes on, something traumatic happens. And we find a way either by role modeling, we see our parents drinking, or we see, you know, our elders or whatever using drugs or whatever it is. So we try it. It makes us feel good. We don't think about the traumatic thing. We don't think about the sad stuff. And then we keep going back to that, and it becomes an unhealthy coping mechanism. And the only way to stop that is to be able to recognize it and to be able to admit to yourself that this is definitely a problem and I need to stop doing this. And like, that's probably the hardest part of recovery.
Before you started working with us and with me, were you working with in substance abuse as well? Did you have clients prior to that as well?
Yeah, actually, my internship right before we started working together.
Oh, you were specific. Oh, okay, that's right. Because when we asked everybody who has background, so let me. I don't think I've ever asked you this question, or maybe we have or never talked about it. So basically, we create a curriculum, a culturally based curriculum for substance abuse, and you again were so to just learn what we've put together as far as this curriculum. In your now, I'm gonna have you get out of your cultural lens and go into your Western lens. Okay. In your opinion, does it work? The cultural component, the curriculum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely it works. I mean, we can see that it works based on the data that we've gathered, you know, post-treatment. So we've been doing this program for what, like 3 years now?
Yeah.
Something like that. And the data, at least from the first year, from what we're being told by, you know, our supervision, is that the what's it called, success rate, and success, you know, being considered remaining sober for 3, 6, and 12 months, up to 12 months after treatment. The success rates went up by like 22% after the cultural component was incorporated, and which is significant. Yeah, that's a pretty big jump.
Do you do you know the national average of that?
If I'm correct, and don't quote me, and please comment below if you find know, data contrary to this. But from my understanding, I think the national success rate for treatment programs is around like 12%, or 20%, something like that. And then Hawaii specifically, with not our cultural component included, Hawaii's programs, I think, vary from like 40% to 60%, and then our specific one went up to like 80 something after.
See, it's funny because I think to myself, as I used to think, I wonder, so because you totally immersed yourself into this, and I was like, I just got this curriculum that I created, and we continue to develop it. Now that we work together, we continue to develop it, and I always wonder, is like, does it really work? Because, you know, we get stuck sometimes. Culture sometimes is a gimmick, right? You know what I mean? People say, "Oh, that's cool. You got a culturally based curriculum for."
And then they start asking about the hula skirts.
Right. Exactly.
Are we gonna be doing hula?
So, first, it's amazing that you jumped on this with us, because, as far as I know, we're probably the ones right now. This is going to sound kind of braggart, but there's other programs out there, right, that have to do with substance abuse, and they're culturally based. But I think we're the ones that we're doing it. I mean, can we sound braggart and be like, yeah, our success rate is good?
I mean, I personally don't know of like a culture specific based component to substance abuse programs personally. I'm sure that they exist, so no offense to anybody that are doing these things, but my experience with ours is that it works very well when we can do it in the way that we created it to do. So the pandemic kind of messed that up a little bit, actually a lot of it. And like having to do our specific cultural program via telehealth has been immensely difficult.
Because we went from sitting with our clients to having to go on telehealth, and that was it's you know, you can't exchange that, because as I always say, the medicine is the interaction, right? The medicine is the interaction. Mahalo for making time, for being here. We're going to bring you back because there's a lot of other things we want to talk about. Eventually want to talk about, when you complete Ho'oponopono. And then I also want to talk about La'olapa'o. Healing is a huge thing right now. Do you think, before we go, are you going to stay within both worlds, or are you eventually going to become strictly cultural practitioner or strictly licensed mental health counselor? Or are you going to be both?
I plan to be both the rest of my life. I'm mixed race. I'm multimodal in practice. Like I have to stay true to myself, right? And that means like using as many tools that I have available to me spiritually and like scientifically or whatever, so that I can help people. Because
you, not only in Waianae you work, you also you are working privately outside as well too, right? Right. With and I hope we get Imua Health Group. Imua Health Group. Right. We're at Malama Recovery in Waianae. You're also at Ho'oku'ola Pain Management and Malama Ku'ola, right? Yeah. So before we let you go, all the things you do. So substance abuse. What else? So I do substance abuse, anger management. I pretty much work with every population, honestly, man. But specifically would be substance abuse, anger management, and like relationships, couples, or family counseling. I do children, adolescents. And that was your main for a while. Like, you are great with children. I love working with kids. It's a little hard to work with their parents. Their parents are a little bit difficult. One thing I learned from you is that sometimes when you work with kids, it's not the child that has the problem. Yeah, a lot of the time it's the parents or the adults around them that are influencing their behavior, and the parents can't see past their own egos, so they put everything on the kid, like he's acting up or she's acting up, and then they don't look at themselves, and really they're role modeling the exact behavior that their kid is presenting. And it's really hard to work through the child if the parent is like the factor, the main factor. So if you've ever needed it, mental health in general, in your opinion, is it one of those things that we should talk about more? Oh yeah, yeah, because we don't, right? We don't, because like you said earlier, we all have it. I mean, and like speaking of the pandemic, like the worldwide, the anxiety and depression rates, and the how anxiety and depression is experienced or whatever expressed has gone up by 25% since the pandemic started. Really? Yeah. So everybody across is worldwide. Like the whole world, not just Hawaii, not just the United States, everyone is experiencing a lot more anxiety, a lot more depression, a lot more difficulty just kind of being alive in general. That's heavy. It is, yeah. Can you leave us with one of the many practices that you have in your head? But speaking of mental health, and we're at that point where we're hopefully coming out of COVID and all these things. Things are just, we don't want to be Will Smith. So what's something you can share with our friends that they can do? Just, whether it's a culturally based or Western based. So the thing that I always come back to, and it's super general, right? But it's the most potent thing for me, and I get it from Uncle Kamaki Kanehele, says this all the time. You hear him say this all the time, is love each other, love one another, love yourself, and be kind to yourself. And I love that. Like, it's so difficult for us to just be nice to ourselves. We're constantly criticizing ourselves and looking ourselves in the mirror and be like, you idiot, you fucking dummy. And if we could just like stop that and be like, you're doing okay. You are doing your best, and I appreciate that. And that's, there you go. Aloha kekahi. Aloha yourself. Brother, thank you very much for being here. We'll bring you back. If you're joining us, hit the notification button, subscription button. If you ever needed, I know. If you ever needed somebody to talk to, and maybe you're that person. You want somebody that's coming from a cultural lens or an aloha lens. Kekupu is the guy to do it. Comment down below. Thanks for joining us. It's Culturized. Aloha.